She knits, while she sits with him, every night, like the needles are keeping time. The charge nurse said it to Ren, who had only been on the ward 3 months, and had not yet learned to stop being curious about the things she witnessed. The old woman had been there every evening since Ren's first shift. Same time, 5:45. Same room at the end of the cardiac corridor. Same chair, pulled close to the bed. Room 12. Ren had delivered medication to the adjacent rooms. She had seen the woman through the open door, white-haired, small, in a good cardigan that had clearly been worn many times, knitting needles moving with the quiet rhythm of someone for whom this motion was as natural as breathing. She did not look up when nurses passed. She looked only at the man in the bed. On the 6th week, Ren finally asked. She knocked on the open door. "I'm Ren," she said. "I can bring you tea if you'd like." The woman looked up. She had the clear, unhurried eyes of someone who has been through something large and has come out the other side into a different kind of stillness. "That would be kind," she said. Ren brought tea. She came back with it and set it on the table and was about to leave when the woman said, "You've been wanting to ask." Ren stopped. "Sit for a moment," the woman said, "if you have one." Ren had 3 minutes before her next round. She sat. "His name is August," the woman said. "My husband, 43 years. She looked at him. "He's been here since the accident." "How long?" Ren said gently. 9 weeks, she said. "He's still in there. I know he is." She said it with the specific calm certainty of someone whose belief is not wishful, but structural, built from 43 years of knowing a person thoroughly. "I come every evening. I talk to him. I knit. I tell him what happened during the day." She paused. He always liked to know what happened during the day. Ren looked at the knitting in her lap. A scarf, half finished, in the blue that matched the blanket on the bed. "I sell them," the woman said, noticing the look. "In the mornings, the market on Callaway. Scarves, mittens, the small things. It pays for the bus and sometimes the tea." She said it without apology, just the plain fact of a practical arrangement. Her name was Edith Hale, 65 years old. What Ren learned over the following weeks came in pieces. The way Edith shared things, which was slowly and completely, without rush. The accident had been 3 months ago. A car, a wet road, an intersection. August had been taken to Milford Medical in critical condition. Their daughter Nora, who had been in the back seat, had survived, and had woken to find that her legs would not respond. She was 29 years old, and she was now in a rehabilitation center 12 miles away, learning to navigate a world from a different level than the one she had always known. Edith went to Nora on weekdays after the market. She went to August every evening. She took the bus both ways. She had not told Nora about the money, that the knitting sales were not supplementing their income, but constituting it, that the savings had been largely consumed by the first 8 weeks of hospital costs before the insurance had properly processed, that the cardigan she wore every evening to the hospital was the same one because the others were being sold. She had not told Nora, because Nora had enough to carry. Ren learned this on a Tuesday evening when she brought tea and stayed, as she had begun to stay, for the 10 minutes between her evening rounds. She sat with Edith and August, who breathed steadily, who was still in there, as Edith said with the certainty she did not question, and listened. "You carry all of this alone," Ren said softly. "I carry what I can carry. The rest stays light if you don't look at it all at once." Ren looked at the knitting, at the blue scarf, almost finished, at the woman who sold scarves in the morning, so she could sit with her husband in the evening and visit her daughter in the afternoon, and hold the whole thing together with the steady, undelayed rhythm of needles that did not stop. She told the head nurse on Thursday, not as a complaint or a report, as a conversation between two people who had both been paying attention to the same woman. The head nurse's name was Petra, 41, practical, with the specific kindness of someone who had been a nurse long enough to know when the system needed a human correction. Within the week, Edith's evening visits were officially noted in the care plan as beneficial to the patient. There was genuine clinical evidence for familiar voice stimulation in comatose patients, and Petra knew how to write a care plan. The tea was added to the ward's hospitality offering. The chair in room 12 was exchanged for a better one. These were small things. They were not small. Wren started visiting Nora, not as a nurse, as a person, on her days off, bringing the things Edith had mentioned Nora liked. Crossword books, a specific herbal tea, the kind of company that didn't require performance. She had told Nora carefully and kindly about the scarf sales, not to burden her, but because Nora was 39 years old, and was carrying guilt about being the one who survived less injured. And the truth was lighter than the thing Nora had been imagining. Nora had been quiet for a long time after. Then she had said, "She's selling her scarves." "She's very good at it," Wren said. "She sells out by noon." "She always did," Nora said softly. "She used to knit for everyone. She just stopped telling people it was for money." August opened his eyes on a Wednesday morning. Not fully. Briefly, the specific movement of someone coming toward the surface. And then he was still again. But the nurses noted it. Petra called Edith at 7:15. Edith arrived at 8, the earliest the morning bus allowed. She sat in the chair. She took his hand. She told him what had happened during the day, which was that she had sold 7 scarves by 9 o'clock, which was a record, and that Nora had called this morning and said she had stood with the parallel bars for 8 seconds, which was also a record. "A good day, August," she said quietly. "A very good day." His hand, and Wren saw this from the doorway where she had come to check and had stayed, pressed back, just slightly, just once. Edith looked at his face. She did not cry. She simply held the hand more firmly and continued talking. Wren walked back to the nurse's station and stood there for a moment with her hand against the wall. She thought about the knitting needles keeping time, about the bus taken both ways, about the cardigan worn every evening, about the kind of love that does not stop being what it is just because the audience is unconscious. She thought about 9 weeks of evenings, and how they had looked from the doorway like a woman sitting alone, and how they had actually been, from the inside, a conversation that had never stopped. Sit with the person who is always there alone. Ask. The answer will be larger than you expected, and the help you give will be simpler than you thought. Show up. That is always enough. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.